big congrats to you for doing the 404 day. That was amazing. See,
That blows me away, man. Like, I appreciate DB just for giving me the invitation to do something like that. It to me, man, that's crazy because I'm just a fan at the end of the day of music. You know what I'm saying? That DB's just one of those guys to listen to when I was like in high school. So this is like I graduated 2010. So like coming up in like, MySpace time frame and the super underground type stuff. I didn't get hip to him maybe until like maybe 2008, 2009. And it was like SoundCloud, stuff like that. Like seeing him like, going against Curtis King, you know what I'm saying? And and the beat battles. I think it was a Red Bull competition. And then like, him even getting his props from DJ Premier, like never would have thought ever to like, run across to him and, actually link up with him. So yeah, it's mind blowing to me, man. I can't, it's hard for me to believe it. I just can't wrap my head around this.
how did you run into this Flipper Beats club actually? Because this is, I think, the connection, right, between
Mm-hmm.
DB and the beat scene in the area.
Right. So here in downtown Sacramento on Broadway, they have Flip a Beat Club. So they've been doing this for a cool minute now. And so at the time, as you know, no social media for me at all. And I'm just always in the dark. I'm just hiding out in my cave right here making beats. RTO hit me up. Big shout out to the big homie RTO. He was like, "Hey, man, I want you to know," because I think he saw a post on Instagram saying that, hey, DiBiase does flips here in downtown Sacramento. And she's like, "Well, you're like in Sacramento, right?" So I think RTO had, like, from what I understand, the way I remember, RTO had a set. Him and Cripuno did a set in Northern Cal. DiBiase happened to be there as well. So RTO linked up with him. So when RTO let me know about DiBiase being over there at the Flipper B Club, I think he, gave DB also a heads up about me being in the area. So, big shout out to RTO for like, just highlighting my name to that dude's ear. Like,
The interesting part to me in during that 404 day was how different, how much of a signature sound you've got compared to, well, in comparison, in general, it's like I can tell your beats from very afar. Once the drum pattern starts, it's like that's for sure. I know who that is. How did you develop this pretty unique? I can't find a good comparison to that. Like I was trying to find somebody who's doing music in that lane, but I can't. So the question is like, why?
Why? Why? Man.
Why those drums? Like, how did you come up with that?
I don't know, man. I just I like dope stuff. Like, and so I wasn't always making drums like that, but I all glory goes to God, man. Like I just continue to make music and I developed ear that are like I guess I developed an ear for swing. And I think at one point in time as a producer, I had the intentions of like wanting to develop understand swing even further. So one person that helped me in that process of just listening to the person was like, one was DiBiase for sure. If you really listen closely, his hi-hats were like very much so moving off kilter. So that tripped me up. That helped with my ear training. And then it went into listening to knowledge and listening to, I think it was like Hood Dreams. Because I think like everybody knew about knowledge once Mama from Pink Butterfly dropped. And so like I think when you already know within, you know, SoCal, like within the beat scene, you already knew who Knowledge was. Because he kept on like having these crazy flips with these interesting drum patterns. So even listening back to tracks like, oh man, yeah, Hood Dreams was like crazy to me because I couldn't understand it at first. I didn't understand like the one and the one being so consistent. And it took time for me to like, oh, like maybe I could do something like this. And so it took a lot of trial and error. So why do I do it? I enjoy it. I think I'm almost obsessed about it. I have like 4 different samplers and they're all interconnected, daisy chained to one another. So I don't know. I just find interesting ideas and try to work them out, and I just don't stop. I would say I'm pretty consistent to where I make a beat a day, but I don't do it every day. Like there's some times where I'm like, oh, I'm put that to the side. Just need to focus on something else right now. My creativity is just not there, so I don't try to force it. But that's probably the most consecutive thing that I do is like just make beats, make different drum patterns, and see what kind of sample can fit in those pockets. So a lot of the times, man, it just happens by accident. Like I don't really go in there with any intention. Like I'm gonna make the dopest beat ever. Like it doesn't even happen like that. I feel like it's like throwing stuff on the wall. You know what I'm saying? See what sticks, whatever sticks. You know what I'm saying? It's just put to the side. You know, and I share it with you know, the Thursday session in Sidechain. You guys are the ones that like, you know, definitely give me the confidence to understand that, you know, okay, this is really unique, man. You can do a lot with this. And it was you guys in Sidechain that helped me even get my first beat project out. So that was a humongous confidence booster for me to understand like, okay, maybe I do have something going on here, you know. And I also try to be humble in that walk too, because I don't think it was all me. Like, yeah, I'm the one that's like doing the work, but like when it comes to creativity, a lot of it is connected to my spirituality. So like I feel like I'm just a vessel. I'm just here to do what is given to me, and then I just kind of put it out there. So going back to the why still, like it feels like I have to. It feels like I have to do this. I don't know, man. Like I enjoy like sitting up and just making a beat, but I don't know. It some people I guess there's some people in life that just find their thing. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that this is the thing. I just know that this is the lane I'm supposed to be in right now. And I'm just kind of jogging through it. Just taking my time and enjoying the journey in the process of that. So yeah, that's the best answer to the why.
The interesting part about that is, you know, as I had the privilege to peek over your shoulder as you were laying some drum patterns down, and what stuck with me was your approach of not having the snare, like the snares on the two. So you would put the kick on the first beat to start it off, or even not necessarily the kick, but the hats, which you would then mangle and stretch to not fit into the 4/4. Uh, but your approach is just very interesting in terms of how you place the snare somewhere and go like step by step, and like let's see what kind of rhythm I can get out of that, which is a very, very interesting approach to that, because normally you have the ones and the twos and then you have the bar and you're just
Yeah.
using this limit of a loop and then double it up, right? And stretch it again and do like different. Can you like how do you go today? Like, did it change in some way from when we spoke?
Oh man, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I've come to find out like I've had probably 4 to 5 different ways to pull swing out of something, and it I don't have like really a go-to. It's just really how I feel. You know what I'm saying? Like I try not to have like expectations. So these days it's really free for me. Like I went from having a template that was just full of stuff. Like I used to always do like, okay, big Jim, like for my swing and how I was even showing you was just getting Serato sample, utilizing Serato sample because I like their time stretching on there. Like it can get kind of extreme if you go to like those lower or higher numbers to where it could just speed up fast, go down slow. But if I do like, let's say for instance, you take a hi-hat loop, put it in Serato, punch in on each quarter note, and then you can unsync. And like I think, yeah, there's an unsync button in Serato sample. So you can go ahead and speed it up or slow it down, but you still got that that constant quarter notes that you already punched in. So it's not about where those quarter notes are landing, it's what's happening in between those quarter notes. And that's where the swing is coming from. That's where the pocket is coming from. And I just kind of go by ear when it comes to that. And even with that, that's changed now. It's changed. Now you could do so much stuff in the 404 Mark II with the TR record mode. I think it is. It's like the step sequencer. Like you can move things to the left or right. And I just like to like play hi-hats, resample it, chop it up, and then play it back again. And I'm like, okay, that's a different pattern. And sometimes I'll take that resample and resample the resample. And that's when it gets stupid. So yeah, man, I try to treat it like I'm a kid again. So like I'm having a good time. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm having a bad day or whatever, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna make a beat, and I'm just gonna ask myself a question. Something like, what happens if I try to lay down hi-hats within 3/4? You know what I'm saying? Time signature. Like so like the philosophy is just about a question that's like an interesting idea. And being committed to that idea and then just going, okay, what's the next step after that? What can I do now? Well, I could put a delay on that. Okay, put a delay on that. Okay, that's an interesting pocket right there. All right, that's interesting. Let me save that, resample it, and then put it through another sampler and, chop it up or mingle it up. So I guess like the key thing is just resampling, man. It's just resampling. At the end of that, like sample yourself. I sample my drums. And sometimes I listen back to like any type of drum pattern, play it out myself using the kicks and the snares that I like to use. I'll resample what I just played back and just chop it up some more. So I don't know, man. I'm just slicing and dicing over here.
Now you mentioned a couple of samplers being new in the signal path. What is the signal path today?
Okay, so we're going from the computer. So if I got like a WAV file, an MP3, I try to stay away from MP3s in general, but take a WAV file. It's going to the 2i2. So it's being connected by the USB. 2i2 goes into the MPC 2000 XL, XL to the MPC 4000. I have the 8 outs, so I go into my Model 12 cast cam. Let's run that back a little bit. 2i2, MPC 2000 XL. Then it goes into the SP303. Then it hits the MPC 4000, Tascam Model 12. And then the final thing it hits is the 404 Mark II. And since it's already an interface, I just connected via Thunderbolt, and whatever sounds I just process through all those machines, I just save it back into Ableton. And mind you, me just naming off 3 different samplers I'm utilizing, sometimes I'm saving stuff inside these machines and I'm resampling it that way. So sometimes going back to what you're speaking about, the method, sometimes I'm just cooking up on the 4000 and I'm just allowing everything to sound the process, or sometimes I'm just going on to 2000 and I'm just allowing sounds to go through just to pass through. I do have a patch bay over here though. I just don't have it plugged up because wires are expensive. But once the patch bay comes together, I won't have it so daisy chained the way I have it now. So, the process can be more fluid and more, I guess, in tune to my ideas. Because, like, some days I just want to take sound from a record player, go into 2i2 and just go into the 303. And from the 303, I want you to go back inside the computer. But I don't know. It's that's what I need all so far. That's like the chain or the signal. But mind you, that's only on the hardware side. On the software side, I'm also just doing a whole bunch of stuff in Ableton. So there's if I remember correctly, the
Verve, analog machines.
that so UAD Verb, like that thing is stupid. Like if you just go and I was explaining this to Matthew, you just go in soft, like, okay, let's say your sound is soft, right? You just put it to a low volume, smash in the Verb. Thank me later, but just smash in Verb. Shout out to Polly for showing me that, and I was like, oh, okay. Like Verb is willing to give you all that I guess that analog emulated goodness. And the dope thing is, like, you think it's gonna clip, and sometimes you'll see your stuff in red, and still that thing sound good. Like, okay, let me just leave it there. And so, yeah, I just add a whole bunch of different VSTs and that I've picked up along the way. I think as all producers do, we collect a whole bunch of plugins that we don't use. So I kind of have this philosophy now of forget the template, go in there blank slate, and I just look through all my plugins, or my little favorite plugins I like to use, and even things I haven't used, I try to make sure I have a folder for, hey, you haven't used this yet. So I feel experimental, what I'm saying, going to that little bag.
So the workflow is you go out of the computer, I guess, to grab the samples, then you go into the machines, do the stuff there, and go back into the computer for the mixing or mastering stage.
Now I ain't even just mixing and mastering, just do more stuff, sound design stuff. So it's like a playground to me. It's like there's certain things that the dog can do, and there's certain things that the analog gear can do. And really, the analog gear, especially how it goes through all these samplers, it's just for texture purposes. Like I feel like I'm getting a bigger, grander sound when I turn on let's see here, there was an EQ in the 4000 that I really do like. It's a digital EQ. Then also when I turn on the vinyl sim compressor, kills the high end, like Stolen was speaking about before. It does kill the high end, but it does give this warmth, and I like it. And I like those little itty bitty crackles that go along with it for the vinyl sim. And once I do something like that, I go through on the Mark II. If you do a shift and pad 16, you use that press to enter little knob. I use cassette and compressor. I use those in tandem with each other. So I'm compressing twice. That's a lot. I'm compressing 3 different times because Model 12 has it's on low compressors, and I got that like activated as a low knob. So
Mm-hmm.
doing some compression there. But like, yeah, when I'm taking sound from the computer, going through the gear, I feel like I'm getting a grander sound. So these days I would solely just do a kick, take a kick from Ableton, go through the gear, save it back into Ableton. But now my kick is just, it's just, yeah. I will just take that kick and, yeah, I'll maybe do a little bit of like, chopping the frequencies, getting rid of some mud here and there. But yeah, I'm still adding OTT on it. That's not changing. Shout out to OTT, man. OTT is the greatest. Takes your frequency out of phase, but hey, that's okay. That's okay. I just like the way it sounds.
And it takes you into the -4 LUFS domain quickly, so that's great.
I just what loves. I think Stalin said that one time. I'm like, ain't no way. But yeah, especially if I make a beat in the Ableton and go through the gear, that's when it can get louder. But also, there's no unnecessary clipping, especially on the digital end of things. So that's another plus having analog gear. You can push things a little bit harder than you could digital, where you start having like those weird artifacts. But yeah, so much artifacts when it just clips and it just sounds terrible. But just I guess just like that Mad Lib, yeah, you must be out your head. Your system ain't to the red. So sometimes I like to push things here and I like to clip here, and I'm like, oh man, clipping in hardware, that's the way to go. So yeah, when you start getting to the native 4 LUFS and it sounds good and it doesn't hurt your ears to where it bleeds, you must be doing a good thing. But I've probably had people's ears bleed at one point in time, so I've been through that stuff of just like trial and error, a lot of trial and error.
What do you love about this setup, since it's a whole bunch of samplers now on top of that, and one could assume like it's making you slower, but I assume something makes you really appreciate this longer chain and different machines.
What I like about the setup is I treat it like a playground. I can be really fluid about this. You know what I'm saying? Like if I just want to like do some wavy stuff inside the 303, I can utilize it and not so much ignore a piece. Like, okay, let me switch this piece out. To be honest, I wish I could use more pieces. Like I have my Machine Mark III, the controller. It's still here in the corner, but I still utilize that. Like I use that for big time for swing. That's when I think I had the workflow down for getting swing, because I think it has like a little if I remember correctly, they have like a groove inside of Machine. So groove was like swing basically. And so you just like put a knob to like 1/4 or 1/16, whatever fraction number, where it can move to the left or to the right. I'll just lay down the pattern, and I was like, okay, let me take the groove on my hi-hats, turn the knob, and I'm like, oh, everything just shifted, but it fits in pocket. And I'm just like, oh, whoa, had a mind blown like eureka moment. So yeah, I still utilize that. I wish I could use more gear, but as far as what I'm happy with, what I have is I can still be fluid. Like I was saying, I can always go back to the XL. I can always go back to the 4000, just cook up right there, and I'm not so much limited. So the way that my mind works is, hey, this is free range. Like anything can happen, So before I used to just leave certain pieces of gear out and just be focused on what I have. But now since I can utilize everything together, especially the way it's connected, the way it is now, I'm just happy with the outcome, because I went through a whole bunch of trial and error. The 303 was my last in the chain. I didn't like it. Then it was like, what was it? I had like a 404, like the SX, not the SX, take that back. It was like the alpha. Well, alpha is basically the SX, basically, right? Yeah, they're like both the same. So I had that last in the chain. I didn't like that. So I went through a whole bunch of trial and error until I got everything the way it is now. Cause I'm like, whoa, that's the texture that I want now, where I can live at. And so since I'm here now to where I did the work to where, okay, I got to where it sounds good to me, I can now be a kid and play on this playground without the monkey bars breaking off. Me getting a concussion, going to the hospital.
And what's your favorite thing to do in that setup currently?
Everything, dude. There's no, that's the cool thing about free range. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no limit to this. Like, if I just want to make some crazy hi-hats, I really could do it on here. For example, right? And this is like one of my ideas I plan on doing really soon. I want to make my own synthesizers through the Model 12. And the Model 12 is just a mixer. So there's this thing called no input, like synthesis or whatever. It's like basically you
No
just
input
take the,
mixing.
no input mixing. So basically you just make a synthesizers by just turning up the frequency, whatever you want to use. So for example, you know that there are ins and outs. So you just take those ins and outs, put those like, believe it has like some auxiliary outs, take a 1/4-inch cable, put it into the ends of whatever channel that you want it to be in. So it's basically kind of feedbacking into itself. The dangerous thing about this is you really can damage your ears. So I would always have that sound that's going out. Well, so auxiliary outs and the outs, main outs, you know what I'm saying? I'll have the main outs go into another sampler to where I can, like, you know, lower down the volume so I can still hear when somebody say my name. But so once I do something like that, I just turn up, like, you know, the lower frequency and or the high frequency, and it starts becoming a synthesizer to where I'm like, whoa, this just opened up a big possibility. I forgot what YouTuber I watched doing it, but I saw him doing it for like 30 minutes, and I was just sitting there just not blinking. I'm like, this is possible. Yes. So it's not about, like, you know what I'm saying, what I like to do the most. It's like, what can I do? That's a better question. What can I do? And so normally I just try to see what I can do at that moment in time and see what interests me. So that could just be whimsical, man. It just comes and goes, the inspiration. I don't know.
Well, what do you explore then in the...
Oh yeah, like the exploration is always going, like, I'm always exploring, finding something new, like doing something different with the chain. Like, okay, I might have the EQ1 4000 1 minute while sound is going through all the, you know, pieces of hardware, and then maybe in the next minute, just looking at it right now, I might put it on like I might put it on delay. You know what I'm saying? And so if I put it on delay, the 4000, when it goes into the mixer and into the Mark II, if I have like my drum rack machine inside the Ableton and I press on my keyboard or a sampler, a kick drum, it's gonna get delayed. I just turn up that feedback inside the 4000. Now I got like a kick that's just forever going, but it's got its own pattern, and I'll resample that. And I think that right there, what I just explained, that's a Dot Kim thing. That's 110% Dot Kim thing. And Dot Kim is dope, man. Like, I saw him live with RTO. Seeing that dude, what he does with delay and pocket and how he does it live is astounding. Like, I tried to do something like that, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to even try to attempt to, you know, do this. That's his thing. That's his lane. And I'm like, but it's to be respected for sure, because, man, that dude is a mad scientist. But I mean, I took that, I will take an idea, you know what I'm saying, utilizing all these things, seeing what I can do and getting inspiration from .Kim, RTO, BBIC, Stolen Drums, you know, and easy listening. Just seeing what you guys do within Sidechain really does inspire me to see like, oh, what can I do? And sometimes it won't even be close to the same idea I got inspired by. That'll be the hilarious part. It's like the end result is like, how did I get this? I was trying to make purple. Like, how did I come up with red?
Yeah, we got my man Tyrone, Sidechain Society.
How did you stumble upon Sidechain? Where does this connection come from?
Well, okay, so this had to be around 2000. Trying to see here, 2008. Now it's going to be 2017. Sidechain just started up like on year 1, but I wasn't there on year 1, so I'm not sure about the date exactly. It feels close to about 4 years now, so 2019 to 2020, somewhere around then. And at the time, I did have an Instagram before I just cut it all off. I had this mentality of, oh yeah, Instagram's cool, and then I finally understood like, no, this shit's unhealthy for me. So I just totally quit out of it, right? So before I made that decision, not too long ago, before I made that decision to quit Instagram, I was following all the beatheads. And so somebody posted, what was it? It was a drum's first pack, his first drum pack. So, and I remember it was that a good food sound, the good food track. And I was like, that's it. Like, that's the sound I'm trying to follow. And I was going to school for audio engineering. So I just knew what I was trying to go after. And I was like, that is it. Like the pocket, like his drums are moving. It's not so syncopated. It's not like 1, 2, 3, 4. So listening to that pack, I think somewhere like in the link, like I ended up buying it, but somewhere in the links, like it was saying like, hey, it's like a group of us, you know, just beatheads that just get together. So I got mad nervous. So at first I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it. Then one day I talked myself into it, and I got in there. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. So I remember seeing JJ, Crit, Pinstripe, Matthew, and RTO. Whoa, I saw everybody there. And I was just remember hearing everybody speaking and how casual it was. And I remember when my name got called and I'm acting hella nervous. I'm like, snap. I don't know what I got, man. Like, I got 8 beats. And my beats weren't the same beats that I make now. For sure it wasn't. So I remember that was like, you know, when I got like, you know, good criticism. It's like, hey, maybe you should make those beats longer. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to make them super, super short. And I just didn't have the confidence that I have now. So yeah, that's the one I remember, like the first time when I kind of like got introduced to Sidechain and being a part of it. And since that time, I've just always find myself coming back every Thursday. You know, I don't do it every Thursday, but for sure when I do find the time for it, I end up coming back to it. So we're now like 4 years down the road. And it's crazy because, like, you know, definitely made lifelong connections, lifelong friends just within this society of ours. So it's like one of the highlights, you know what I'm saying, in the past 10 years. Easily. Like I would say, like going to the military, accomplishing that as a career, going to school, you know, getting my bachelor's, to be a part of Sidechain, because it's really changed people's lives. People have found new careers and people have criticisms on music. You know, people have debates, and they're healthy debates. It's not like no online bullshit. Like, I think that's what kind of made it different from all the other so-called music societies I try to be a part of. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's like other little groups with people who are talented in their own right, and they're, you know, dedicated into just making dope stuff. But it wasn't the environment that Sidechain gives. So yeah, I just always stuck with it because it's just a healthy place. And not only just healthy, just, on a social level, but just, yeah, it's just healthy on a social level because everybody had respect. I think that's the main thing. Let's just respect. Point blank, period. But yeah, that's about it. Like in the beginning of my Sidechain journey.
But to me, this is the appealing part about those sessions, is that they're free-ranging. There is no like upbeat agenda to go through. Yeah, let's talk about the news and music or something. It's just like friends meeting and talking it out. If you got a problem, there is a space to address this, and you will never be interrupted, which I think is huge. This is what makes every single conversation so unique. It's like almost like, there is a DNA to sidechain sessions. There is like certain components, they belong into the sessions.
What I'm really into right now is like the analog compressors, stacking them with like transformers and shit.
And yeah, you're right, man. I think it's Stalin's intention. You know what I'm saying? When he does say like he made a environment for us, like I think a lot of people have agendas, you know what I'm saying? Especially like when you are doing something on a business end, and especially how he is, even with him sustaining himself through Sidechain and how he created it, he really did make an environment for other producers, for other beatheads, and it's out of respect. That's why, I've stuck around as long as I have, and I've been in different communities that try to do what he has done, but I think what makes him different from everybody else is how genuine he is. Like, I think it's just, that will always show in time. Like, time will always be the biggest teller of a person. Time will always point the finger at you. Like, no, you were always this type of person. You were always that type of person. So time has already stolen that, no, you're just a genuine person. You really are here to help other people. I've seen people grow from their sound. And I would even say, including myself, because I wasn't even sounding the same way how you're saying, like, I have a signature sound, which is mad crazy. Like, Stone is a big part of that. His advice of, like, saying, hey, try this chain with that chain. Oh, you're on Ableton? Hey, try the drum bus. Like, if you just, pay attention and listen, he's actually giving you big gems. Like, gems that, a lot of people would, be on the hush-hush about because, hey, you want to keep your sound to yourself type stuff. And I understand that, everybody has their own thing, and I'm not going to, downplay anybody that holds things back. But that dude's an open book. You know what I'm saying? And whatever questions I've had or whatever, any question that anybody has had, he's always been very open enough to share what he knows. And what he doesn't know, he actually goes and say, hey, let me go talk to somebody and let me figure this out. Now come right back to you guys. And he's always been consistent with that. So yeah, man, he's made a great environment for us. So, I feel like, oh man, and you know what I'm saying? And just even connecting with the people I connect with, like with RTO, him being there since the beginning, like now I'm like kicking it with him, going to beat sets. You know what I'm saying? After so many years of just talking to him online and meeting him in person, it's like there's no awkward phases. Like, bro, I already know you. Hey man, let's go ahead and do this, that, and the third. It's like, all right, bet. You go ahead and do whatever you got to do. And like right now, we're just doing missions on just doing beat sets. And dude, it's a crazy process when I look back at it, to where like, man, I just was on Instagram, found this by accident, and now here I am doing beat sets, like winning the match of the day. So yeah, man, this environment has been very conducive to my growth as an artist, hands down. And I think Sidechain is more important than me getting a bachelor's in audio engineering at like LA Film School. That shit is almost like garbage to me compared to what I've learned in Sidechain. And it's not only just stolen drums. Like Pauly is a big, big part of it as well. that dude will take time out the day just to have like 3-hour conversations with me, talking about music theory, talking about UX, UI when I have a question, or just it goes back to being genuine again. You know what I'm saying? Both of them have always been consistent in that.
Polymathism.
And so that's why I really look at them like big homies, like OG status, because they're the ones that put in the work within this industry. You know what I'm saying? Of music. They understand the pitfalls. They understand little potholes here and there, what you want to watch out for when you make this type of deal. This is what you should look for in the contract. Like, it's so transparent. Like, you start to ask yourself, why are they sharing this? You know what I'm saying? If they had malicious intent, you know what I'm saying? I could see why they wouldn't share it. But it's because how genuine they are. It's just goes to show, like, oh man, like, I think I want to stick around here. I think I have to learn something from this. And it's been more than just, about the potholes, about, being a musician. It's really being a better human being, especially learning how to listen to others. And I think that's a skill set that you excel greatly at, Bear. Just listening. And even when you still have questions, you always regurgitate like your understanding of like, okay, what did this person say? Oh, so did you mean this? And then so it's like, oh no, I mean it like this. Like, I see what you're saying. Like, that's a practice, and that's a respect that everybody has within Sidechain. And the moments where that was an issue, it's been handled in a very mature way, to where you're not downing the person, saying like, hey man, let the brother man talk. It's like, nobody's ever been on the energy of, hey bro, you need to be quiet. No, nobody's ever done that. But there has been that shoulder, even in the digital realm, the hand to the shoulder moment, like, hey brother man, hold on a second.
For sure.
And that's respect though, man. And I only seen it in Sidechain so far, man. And it's crazy how we have that
Always
environment.
in the most respectful. To me personally, this like Sidechain is a reference. I go back to sessions thinking about how to handle conflict situations, how to handle hot topics, how it's always a great reference at how mature, as you said, something can be handled without getting like really heated. Because, every time I find myself in a heated situation and see like just like temperature rising in the room, I always think like, this can be avoided. This doesn't have to happen. It doesn't even take that much. Interestingly enough, it's the techniques that guys apply are really simple.
Yep.
Just
And I think that goes back to like, Stoner's intention, because I remember seeing situations where I'm like, man, he has every right to pop off, but he just he stays composed. You know what I'm saying? So, as a man, I think having self-control is like a key factor. And I mean, I can say for sure, like, majority of us, we're all like, I think each of us are on our own journey in life. We're all learning how to like, deal with each other as men. You know what I'm saying?
What the fuck? This is crazy.
we spoke about you were in a hiatus a year ago, about like you stepped away from music, as far as I remember, for a short period, and then you bounced back. How what helped you get back into this? Like, how did you get back into getting inspired for music creation?
So like, kind of going off what you're speaking about, I think about 2 years ago, I just fell into a slump. I think as musicians, we feel these super high highs of inspiration, and it's like we can keep going, but as high as my high was, my low was just as equal on the negative spectrum of things. And so like when I hit that low, that shit was real. And I think I internalized it and I was like, you know what? I've been through this before. Artistically, I can do quite a bit. I know when one door is shut, another door is opening. So for example, I used to do spoken word poetry like a lot. And I used to perform my stuff until I completely stopped. I just stopped. And I started getting into beat making. Just started making music. Like that's what I wanted to do. So when I felt like even making beats was like, man, I just don't feel it. I just felt like, okay, there's got to be something else I need to focus on. I don't know what that certain thing is, but I allowed myself to live in that low without trying to utilize any external source to get me back up to being inspired. So I just allowed myself to, go through that human emotion of not feeling like I need to make a beat right here, right now. I need to be consistent at this. I just allow myself to be like, I don't feel inspired. Let me do something else. And that's all I think it was like for quite a bit of time. I don't think it was like no whole year or nothing like that, but it was a good amount of time where I just wasn't making no beats. I don't remember what I was doing during that time. If it was like about 2 years ago, probably 17, 18 months in 2021. So I already graduated. So yeah, I was probably focusing trying to get my money. I think that was like the main, that was the main thing. So I was probably working, but I think what I always had in my back of my mind is like, when I do feel like this, I always feel like, okay, let me change something up then. Let me change what I can do to better myself during this time being, me not being inspired. And so I remember it gradually happened. Like one day it just was like, okay, the ideas started popping in my head again. I'm like, okay, I think this is a good time or a good excuse just to get up, sit down on this desk and start cooking again. Like I got a few ingredients in my head that I'd never thought about before. I wonder what the outcome could possibly be. And I think that's what kind of lit the fire again. But also, my beat making and my spirituality is very interconnected. You know what I'm saying? So even in my faith, as I walk, I really do pray before I even like start making the beat, because I feel like, everything that I do have right now is God given. It really is. So I try to be thankful for what I can do and allow myself to go in that process. So I think that's really important to me, because like when I'm not feeling like I'm not able to make a beat or do something creative, must mean spiritually, like, maybe God's trying to direct me somewhere else where I need to focus on. So that's the way I like to think about it. But yeah, there will be doubts and times where, I do have those low moments. And even now, like there will be like, there's 2 days where I just didn't make no beats. And I was like, whatever. I just allow myself to do that, because I used to always add like a workforce, gotta make a beat every day. That's not realistic. It's not. I mean, it is, but like, me personally, I got other things to do. I got things to focus on as well. But you know what? I think you'll always make time for the things that you like, love, or what you like. You'll always make time for it. So it's not like I can never run away from music. It'll somehow find me one way or another. Just not machines. I'm probably like, boom bapping somewhere, beatboxing, clapping my hands if I got to, stop my feet if I need to.
But you mentioned the beat every day, like you're back into a certain kind of a routine, I guess. How does it look like? Where do you fit this into your day?
I just try to make something, if it feels good enough, I just save it. I just try to like, be consistent with it. I'm not like some cats out here that can just like pump out 10 beats at a time. It's very intimate when I do create something, like, what I'm saying, if I'm working on a drum pattern, I'm really putting my focus into it. I'm like hyper focused, and I'm just really just getting down to the nitty gritty of it. I'm just allowing myself to live in that world of sonic structuring. So I'm closing my eyes a lot. I'm just really trying to pay attention to whatever I'm feeling, and I'm just trusting that process of, you know, allowing myself to be myself in the medium that I'll be in, or media. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Media, whatever. But whatever the, you know, whatever I'm like utilizing, you know what I'm saying? Be it if I'm drawing, be it that I'm like even playing the video game, I'll just practice it until I get good enough. You know what I'm saying? I just give myself time to like be in it. I got very decent at, you know, structuring the beats the way I like to listen to beats. And so I used to go by the philosophy of make a beat a day. And now I'm at this point where I'm like, I can do that, but I don't want to put that as a stipulation. If the beat comes out, it comes out. I'll save it and I'll continue forward. But while I was practicing and learning and honing, and I still am learning, fine. So it's not like I'm mastering in any way, shape, or form. I just kind of understand my workflow and how I can better progress it while living life and, you know, being a producer. I'm just allowing myself just to make time for making a beat, make the beat. But when I was like really adamant, like trying to learn it though, yeah, I was like, make a beat a day. And we're going to get this down. Why isn't this swinging the way I want it to swing? How is this like, and I'll listen back to like tracks, and listen to mad people, just trying to understand like how to get this to swing like this. Stone was one of those guys. Knowledge was one of those guys. Mind design. Like, there'll be certain tracks where I'm like, what the fuck? What time signature is this? So I feel like, okay, I got to make a beat a day so I can try to get this process sped up. Now I feel comfortable, you know what I'm saying? And like being the artist I am right now. So it's not about, oh yeah, let me try to do this constantly so I can get this technique down. I was like, no, I feel like I'm comfortable where I'm at now. It's more of a process of when the inspiration hits me, Lord willing, I'll be ready.
Is it true?
Do you prefer starting with the chops or the drums currently?
Ooh, good question, man. Good question. Drums. This for me, I am 100%. You work on the drums first. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, oh yes, oh yes, it's true. Is it true? Is it true? I do.
Another striking thing, it's been brought up to me. I was playing your beats from the 404 day to someone, and the guy
Wait,
told me like, this
you were
is
playing with-
crazy.
To who?
To my brother-in-law. He's a rapper here in Germany. He makes beats as well, and I was like, you have to listen to this. Like, I bet you never heard anything like this. It was very interesting to hear someone's opinion on like, these chops fit perfectly into this rhythm that is going on, and your rhythm is delicate. It's like, it's a complex. It's not just a simple kick and a snare. It's a complex one. So how do you go about chopping them? Like, is it such a deliberate act?
And well, first off, man, I appreciate you just sharing my music. But thank you, man. Like, I appreciate that. Like, really do. I guess, like, to answer that question correctly, I know, like, I've been in my head and I asked myself this question too while I'm making beats. I found out that I don't like to overthink shit, and it's okay to make mistakes when you're pressing that record button. Cause like, it feels like so much pressure. It just like so much anxiety just hits you that moment when you press the record button and you got a finger drum or whatever. You're like, oh, I got to make sure that I do something. clap, clap. Like make sure that everything's on point. Cause something's not on point, start like, you know, defeating yourself. Like, how the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Like you start really downing yourself. So I've learned, even in my method, allow the mistakes to happen. But I think I got so used to that now. It's just kind of like a river that goes in one direction. Like, yeah, there might be something that interrupts that river, like a boulder, maybe, like that's in the river now, or, you know, something might deter, but the water is still going to move in any direction. You just don't know where exactly. It might get deterred somewhere else. So I allowed the boulder, you know, to be a part of the process. Like, okay, you stopped me right here, Mr. Boulder. Or for the example of making the beat, maybe that snare is not hitting exactly where you want it to land. Let it be. Like, just let it be and continue the process. The journey isn't over still. And so I've learned to accept the mistakes, and part of my workflow, going back to what I was saying, just resample. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to come up with something new regardless when you resample yourself. So, like, I mean, if you make a mistake now, what does that really matter? Unless you feel within yourself the frustration of, I really want to get this the way I have it in my mind. Like, I understand that as well. I just learned in my beat making process. I'm not sure how everybody else makes beats. All I know is I don't go and making beats with any expectations at all. There is none. I don't know what I'm going to come up with. I just don't. But that's part of the excitement for me, and that's like part of the inner child just being glee. My inner child is like absolutely just amazed by what I can come up with, and it's really a joy. I enjoy the process of making a beat than hearing the end result. The process and the journey of it is the fun and exciting part. And so I just allow myself to be in that. So yeah, even though I do always make my drums first, I purposely make it to where my drums don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? I purposely do that. Like, it shouldn't make sense to me. It shouldn't make sense to me.
Secret tip.
Yeah, I purposely make it to where my drums shouldn't make sense. Everything else will fall in line later on that. You know what I'm saying? And there's some days where I do chop up the sample. Like, the sample really got to speak to me though. Like, I think some people like Easy, like it seems like he always picks the sample first and then he continues like to build on it. Like, the sample really got to talk to me. And I'm like, ooh, that hits. Let me take that. Who is this? Okay, bet. Go ahead, put on record player and chop it up. Boom. Let me see if I can land something. And sometimes I'll do the drum second when it comes to that. But that's so rare. It's so rare. That's super abnormal. It really, really is abnormal because 99% of the time I'm going drums first. And so I'm just kind of stuck in that workflow and I'm comfortable in that workflow.
What do you challenge yourself with? Like, how do you challenge yourself?
How do I challenge myself? So I'll come up with questions, and those questions would be, okay, past 5 beats that I've made, I've always been in 4/4. So today we're going to make a beat in 5/4. So what is it going to be like? I don't know. So I sometimes I purposely put a boulder in the river. It's like that's like I see that as like the limitation. I put the limitation on myself so the creativity can breathe from that limitation. So yeah, that's how I challenge myself. Or I listen to other drummers. I'll listen to just different music. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it as well. The artists I listen to, Young Morpheus, his beat selection.
Can't be worried, seen too many things, my nigga, at the threshold.
August Fantana, excuse me. August Fantana's crazy. If you guys haven't heard of him, like that dude's like, he's like a kind of like a Mad Lib kind of person to me because he just like focuses in on the sonics of the chops. So like it's very relaxing to you to listen to something like that. Big shout out to Ruffian Kid. Like the way like Ruffian Kid is just another beat head.
puts his sound through mad gear, you know what I'm saying, and comes up with a different result. So I've been listening to him for quite some time, and I get inspired off him. RTO, that dude, like, he's a mad scientist as well, so he really does inspire me. Like, oh man, he's processing like this. How can I process this, but also do it my own way? Like, so those types of questions always come up in my mind. I know you do this, so what can I do that's similar or close to this? You know what I'm saying? Even though I don't have the exact same gear. And a lot of times I just come up with something that, you know, goes back to what I was saying. I'm trying to make the color purple, but I ended up with the color red. Like, that's the end result. Like, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll be married to that. Boom. Throw it in the hard drive and just sits up until, like, you know, one day I decide to make a project. I start putting different pieces from different folders over time. So yeah, I guess that would be like the limitations I would put on myself, just to see what kind of creativity I can come up with.
Is there a project that is on repeat that you can listen back
Like over and over again?
Uh-huh.
Oh man. I kind of don't want to say it because it sounds so chalant. Like, it's not nonchalant. It's just so it's everybody's answer that's ahead. Dilla Donuts. Like, donuts has been like that thing since I was in middle school, maybe 2006. It's like when Adult Swim was like really crazy. No, it was before 2006. Holy shit, dog! I'm getting old, bro. Like 2001, man, or 2002. But then, like, when Dilla passed around, like, was it 2003? I want to say somewhere around that time frame when he released Donuts. Adult Swim started making posts and started putting on their bumps. And I remember on, like, the beat bumps, I used to be enamored by it. Like, I was like, what the fuck is that sound? How the heck does it sound like? It sounds like one of my mom's, like, because my mom played music a lot. She played a lot of music around me. So I'll be like, man, this sounds like one of my mom's records, but why does it sound different? Like, I just couldn't understand it, but I knew I was just attracted to the sonics. So when I discovered Donuts, yeah, that's always been on repeat. Like, every couple of months, like every 3 months, if I'm not listening to it, I'll go back to listen to it. And I'll just be like, dang it. How? Like, in a lot of it, I mean, I try not to overthink it because there's only one Jay Dilla. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's only one Bear. There's only one Matthew Jameson. So I try not to be like Jay Dilla in any sense. But I will say I always go back to that project quite a bit. More than any other project, especially over like a long period of time. Like, I do have like my other like obscure project, like obscure artists I do listen to in their projects. But the most consistent one I would say is Donuts. So yeah.
Yeah, 20 years is not bad for listening back.
Holy shit, dude, that's crazy. Holy yo.
Yeah. Yep, it's been that long.
That's wild, man. Oh, I didn't put the math to it. It's just always been a feeling like it's the itch that I scratch, but I always keep on itching it. Like, what? Oh, wow. But yeah, man, like artists like him, I mean, it just kind of proves that, you know, artists like him can stand the test of time. But there's like a lot of people that like are not well known as Jay Dilla that are still dope. And one person that definitely comes to mind is like Negro Saki. That dude, the way he chopped samples and the way that he did his flips, he was playing with Pocket mad early when I was like listening on SoundCloud. Like, I guess my golden era of SoundCloud was like 2008, 2009, like listening to obscure artists. And I think even Obliv at the time was like always making music. So I used to always listen to Obliv's projects as well. Yeah, there's just a whole bunch of these like just beatheads I just really listened to that like not too many people knew about, and Negro Saki ended up being one of those cats. But the cool thing about being in Sidechain, you know, lo and behold, I ended up learning that Pinstripe was in like, you know, connection with Negro Saki, and then Matthew Jameson had a project with Negro Saki. So it's funny how like the same people I like listened to, I learned later on that you know, the same people that I collab with, talked with, who are my friends, like, yo, these are the same guys that collab with the people I've listened to that molded and shaped my ear the way it is. And that's the part that kind of like blows my mind a little bit.
Speaking of collabs, what does excite you about collabs? Like, what do you like about collabs specifically? Because you did one project with Matthew, which is amazing.
Yes, and but Tosai's Dilemma. Yeah, but Tosai's Dilemma was like just our love for anime, and it was like Ronnie Kitchen, and the whole philosophy of, you know, he was like, you know, a killer. He was a man that like slaved other men, you know, for the government in their ways, but then he come to find himself and saying like, yeah, this is not who I am. I just happen to have a really dangerous skill set, but I'm not here to kill a man. Like, that's not who I am. It's like that self-discovery. So I always liked that story growing up, because my age of like watching Toonami, that used to be one of the shows that used to be on repeat, or at least on every Saturday afternoon. I think it was like every Saturday afternoon. It was an afternoon thing. It wasn't no morning Sunday cartoon, but not Sunday, but Saturday morning cartoon. But let's see here. Yeah, that project right there. When it comes to collabs and what I think about collabs, really,
All right.
I don't force it. Just like as much as you don't force a friendship. You know what I'm saying? You can't force somebody to kick it with you. You can't force somebody to conversate with you. But the people I do have conversations with and, you know, spend time with, you know, like when it comes to just activities and just kicking it, it's going to happen naturally. Matter of fact, I was just talking today, and we went through, I opened up a folder of all the collabs I have. Even just speaking with you, I have a collab chat with you. I don't know if you know that. Like, we have that. So it happened naturally. You know what I'm saying? We didn't really talk about it. We didn't plan for it. It just happened the way it needed to happen. So that's how I kind of like, you know, go about it when it comes to collab projects. Naturally, it just happened with Matthew because, you know, brother man will just check up on me, make sure I'm cool, check up on him, make sure he's cool, spend hours talking about whatever interests that we have, and it just happened naturally. You know what I'm saying? So one day it had to be thrown out like, hey man, you're a musician, I'm a musician, it only makes sense. So all right, here's some drums. Oh, here's some bass. Oh, hey, this is what I came up with. Hey, this is what I came up with. And it started becoming more consistent that way. So yeah, man, it's like we fell in on a whole bunch of tracks by accident, to be honest. And we look back and say, bro, we got a lot. Like, what do we do? Make a project. That's what we need. So yeah, but the philosophy mainly is I'm never gonna force people to say, hey man, hey, let's collab together, let's go. Like, I think, you know, over time will tell if the collab will happen. You know what I'm saying? The moment will decide that fact. Because I think a lot of times when people like try to force a collab, it can work for them. It just doesn't work for me that way. Because like I've had people outside of Sidechain like, hey man, collab with me, let's make a beat together. And like whoop de whoop whoop. And I'm like, the dude off Friday, that father. And we're like talking to Debo. no. And I would tell people that they'll break their heart. It was like, wait, man, what, bro? You don't want me no crap with me? What's up, man? It's like, well, it's not like I hate you or nothing. It's just that I don't even know what kind of character you are. Like, I don't know what you gonna talk about, bro. And guess what? My name is gonna be attached to that. So when they hear you, because I'm not a rapper, they're gonna hear the vibe. But you're gonna put some verbs and vocabulary together, and that's gonna dictate a message. So to me, I'm like, I'm very sensitive about collaborations and who I collaborate with. So yeah, I am so thankful that I have like a whole folder of people, you know what I'm saying, that I do have collabs with, you know, and I appreciate people that, you know, they even just mess with my stuff the way that they mess with it. Like, I think that's very humbling to me, man. Like, some days I'll be like, man, this ain't it. And then you guys will go back to it and say, yeah, let me pick this and that. And I'm like, those are the 2 tracks I absolutely hate. What the heck's wrong with you? And you guys just mess with it. It's just, I have to look back at it like, I don't understand why you guys picked that track, but I'm like, oh, thank you just for even taking the time, being considerate, just saying you want to. So I think stuff like that just happens naturally. Doesn't have to be forced. It'll happen when it happens. Yeah, I think that's how I feel about the philosophy of collaborations. Yeah.
And what's the most significant change sonic-wise in the past, say, a year? Like, what would you say changed?
Past year? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would say the gear.
The gear has changed, like getting into the hardware, like investing in myself when it comes to making music. So past year, what came out past year? I think the most recent piece of gear would be the MPC 4000. And big shout out to RTO again. He's the one that pointed me to somebody selling this mug. Yeah, and that was in the local area. The guys were a little bit cheaper than what the market was asking for. So I was like, hey, yo, let's go. So definitely shout out to RTO for that. But yeah, the 4000 is like the most recent piece of gear. And that's what kind of changed a lot, part of my workflow as well. Seeing the capabilities of this machine and how I can, like, you know, interact with it while still, you know, being used to the workflow that I have, trying to meld those two together. So yeah, I would say in the past year, that's the biggest change for sure.
What would you say is on the bucket list, music-wise? What would you like to accomplish?
Really, like a goal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's don't.
Yo, I don't have a goal, to be honest, man. I know that sounds crazy. Well, you know what? That's a lie. I do have a goal now, and this is very recent. Building up my portfolio. Like, because I was very seclusive, not on Instagram at all. Me having an Instagram now, me starting up a YouTube, I'm just doing this to where I'm like, hey, this is the art that I make. I'm putting it out there now for eyes to actually lay on it. Because before, I could be truthful in saying this, I was very narcissistic on, like, you know, when I was on Instagram, I wanted the likes, I wanted the attention. I mean, the social media is social engineered for you to want it like that. You know what I'm saying? To go after it. And I am, not only am I a creature of habit, but if I really do like something, I'll continue to, like, you know, continue that process to where it becomes habitual. Like, and Instagram was like one of the biggest things, like, oh, I just made a post, somebody likes that, get on it. Like, it used to be like that. But I've come to a point where I'm like, I really try to detach myself from that. And also I try to understand what I can use it for my purpose, really now, what happened was when I started doing beat sets, a lot of people were asking me like, yo, where's your Instagram? Where's your social media? Where can I find your stuff? And so it was humbling that people even asked that, but the best answer I could give them was my Bandcamp. That's it. And sometimes people don't want to buy my stuff. That's okay too. I'm never gonna be like, all right, no. I'm like, that's cool. You don't want to, I just appreciate you just coming through to visit, listen to the stuff. But some people just want to check you out, you know what I'm saying? See what you're about. So I think Instagram is a good way of like, people having at least an idea of who you are as a representation of yourself. So now I'm just trying to like, allow my art to express who I am. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, I'm just a nerd, man. Like I'm into all like the obscure things of like, anime, giant robots, all that good jazz. Like that's, I'm trying to express that, but also, whoever is watching, they'll understand that, I'm trying to be consistent out when I do what I love. And that's just making beats. And that you mess with it, like I'm all for that. So I think that's like a thing that I have like a goal for myself is to like, continue to add to my portfolio, continue to add to the art. So yeah, I think that's a good goal for me to have right now, but I'm very fluid when it comes to goals. So it could change.
Would you have to take just 2 items with you from the current studio? What would that be? Music related?
Let's go. Okay, so 2 items. What am I bringing with me? Indefinite. I think most people would say the 404 Mark II. It can do a lot. It could do a whole bunch. It's a synthesizer now. So yeah, I'm taking that mug with me. That's gonna be plugged up to the pineapple coconut tree. And let's see here. The second piece of gear. Honestly, just 2 things to make beats, right? It has to be for making beats, correct?
Well, yep, whatever you feel you need to make art.
Okay. The caveat is, including the wires, I do need to interconnect. I'm grabbing all the wires.
Yeah. The wires are just like electricity in abundance. This is a weird island with lots of outlets and cables.
So with the 404, I'm also gonna pick like probably my tablet. The tablet, pick the 404 Mark II. I think those are the 2 things basically which would need just to make some beats. I think that's a good workflow. Have Koala on one, have Mark II doing the Mark II thing, make them work together, make some craziness out of that somehow. And damn it, I didn't say Wi-Fi. Look, yo, I should have said Wi-Fi. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, it had the Wi-Fi, but then again, you can't connect the Wi-Fi to the Mark II. Nah, you can't do that. So yeah, maybe Wi-Fi and tablet. Those are the 2 things, the best things. Yeah.
I mean, given the size of the libraries, I didn't know how you handle your sample libraries, but I feel like I have enough for years in terms of samples that are just sitting on that are synced with my tablet, and I know I have an SD card in my SP that has samples. I just always forget that I have it. Like I load it up and then continue making stuff, and every now and then I'm like, oh, I need this pack of samples on the SD card. I plug it into my computer. It's like, oh shit, I got a whole bunch of stuff with the same thought, like, oh, I need to flip this at some point, and then just move on. So I think
How would you
Wi-Fi
get your
is.
How would you get your samples? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know most people like to do the vinyl thing. You know, other people like to do cassettes. So what's your kind of your choice?
I do all of that. I do my crate digging, and then I have like a mixer connected to a tiny recorder that records to an SD card because that's convenient. I do everything in batches. So on some weekends, I would just listen to a shitload of vinyl and grab stuff from that. And once a month, I will just copy it to my sample folder, and then I have stuff for 4 months. And then I would hit Carl up, and she would send me a bunch of his stuff, which I guess is vinyl as well. But then I don't mind going on YouTube and grabbing, like, if I want to flip some Nintendo sounds or some weird stuff that is just non-vinyl specific, I'd go there, grab stuff there. So everything is fine by me. I don't have like this, so it needs to be analog.
You're not married to it. Right.
No.
That's cool, man. Like, and I think, if you, depends on what kind of, where your creativity and how you think. Some people like the limitation of just being on vinyl, and I think I'm of the same type of, like, I got cassettes so down here, and I got a whole plethora of vinyl, and you even just saying the name. Big shout outs to Karl Marx, man, because that's a dude that I never had this experience before with anybody else, but he'll be playing his records and me and him can be sitting back and I'll just be laughing, right? And he would comment like, yeah, man, I know that part was crazy. Like, just a certain part within the sample just went, and I'm like, oh man, what the heck? Like, what kind of sound theory was that? That was crazy. Like, I've never had those moments, like, just listening to music with other people, but his ear is so just pinpoint on like good shit. Like, so whatever he's going to give to you is going to be like consistently just off the wall. And so, yeah, man, big shout out to that dude. I definitely got a couple of his records down here in the crates. So yeah, man, that dude has been a major, major help in me just pinpointing what I like to cook with and what I want to study as a musician. Like, yeah, that dude's a major, major help. Yeah, man, like, we had rabbit hole conversations just about like the crate digging alone. Like, he spoke about it like, if I was never making beats, I'm always going to listen to music. Like, that dude is like such just a library of knowledge when it comes to records, what label this artist came from, what this artist who they used to work with, what instruments did they use, what kind of like just obscure, like just off the wall, nobody listens to this at all type stuff, some stuff that's just absolutely rare. And he knows what the rare stuff is, and he even tells me like, man, sometimes rare stuff is just like, it's overrated. Like, the dollar bin stuff is where it's at too. Like, you got this guy, and a lot of times I'm writing down notes. And I'm like, okay, I gotta rabbit hole myself, because that's like one of the things I like to do, even on a digital thing. Like, just go on YouTube, start seeing like the connections of different artists, see like the relations of what other videos I can find that just started from this name, and then I'll just find artists by accident that way. But yeah, Carl's like one of the dudes I love going to just for like, hey man, I'm looking for a certain sound, like Chicano music right now. I'm like wanting to like add to my collection with Chicano stuff. Like, I gotta have it. So I've been wanting to make time with him to do that, but I've just been all over the place to where I can't just sit down and say, okay, let me listen to these records that you got. And I was like, okay, I'll think with that one, I think with this one. But yeah, that dude is just a plethora of knowledge, and I'm just appreciate that he's like willing to share it with other people, man. And I enjoy like just spending time listening to him and listening to his like songs that he has, man. Like, dude has a lot of just knowledge in general, not just with music. Dude is very much so an upright dude. I like the way that he carries himself as well. Like, dope cat, just a dope cat. Big shout out to you, Carl. Man. Dope, bro.
If you had to move, where to? If you had to.
But if I had
So
to
you
move,
don't want to.
if I had to,
Yeah. Where, but you could move anywhere.
yeah. All right, this would be a multiple part question. Like, I guess one, I'll try to move closer to people I want to collaborate with more. So I'll probably be closer to maybe like date. Like, we were talking about that today. I was like, bro, I wish I could just be in the studio with you, bro. Like, it sucks trading music. Like, I wish I'd be close enough, at least close enough to all the artists I want to collaborate with, like Matthew Jameson. Like, hey, just always be working, always be like just kicking it, making sure, you know, always fiddling with something to where we could actually, you know, create a piece the way it needs to be made. Because I think it's totally different from collaborating in person versus collaborating over the computer. Like, it's just not the same feeling. Sometimes, like, you don't have the right gear, or sometimes that person has gear, you don't have it, but you have an idea of how you can utilize that gear. Like, I wanted to like run like Matthew's bass through like the Mark II, or like, you know what I'm saying, and started to do some weird stuff with that. Then run it through the 4000, see what kind of thing I can get out of that. Just even little silly ideas like that, you know what I'm saying? You're there, you know, you're in person. You can do it right then and there versus you got to trade files. That takes time. You got to make time in the day for both you guys to do that. Yeah. But that's my first answer to that. If I could move anywhere, I'll probably be closer to people I want to collaborate with. I would say like somewhere obscure. Probably. I remember me being raised in Longstuhl, Germany. I wouldn't mind going back there. I wouldn't mind going back to Germany. Like, it's just a little nice, quiet town. Not a lot of things going on. There's mad castles everywhere. And it's just nostalgic for me. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be a location. I guess a third choice would be probably Japan. I'd probably go broke in Japan. So that's why it's not the first pick. But yeah, those will be the locations for sure. Those will be the top three at least I got. Yes, sir.
And I totally agree. Like, that hit a note with me on Collabs. It is actually important. This is why I obviously would prefer to have the interviews in person as well, because it is so much more. Like, even with the video being on, it is so much more to record with people in person.
Yeah.
This interaction when people go off, especially if you have somebody like Matt or somebody who plays, this recording live in is
to have it in person, bro, it's a different thing. Like, especially with Flip a Beat Club. I remember me and Archio, we went to a Flip a Beat Club here and on Broadway. Got into the record store that they have it at, and we were just cooking. And at the time, you guys had your retreat over in Stolen, you know, had the little Airbnb, and you guys all collected there. And so while we're sitting down, I'm like looking at RTO, like, bro, we got to make it to the next Sidechain like retreat, man, because this is a bad feeling. Like, people that we know for years, man, are like together, just having a great time. You know what I'm saying? And definitely felt like I was missing out. You know, like, and not still like in touch with those people, but it's just different when you're in person. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a great feeling, like just meeting up with RTO and cooking up around him. Start thinking differently. You know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, let me try to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, RTO, what you think about this, man? And he'd be listening to it. It's like, oh, okay. Or he'd be like, hey, maybe you could turn up something right here. I'm like, all right, bet. Let me see what I can think about. Like, to have a person like that to where you respect their ear and they're around, it just transforms the environment. And especially meeting the people on Flip the Beat Club, it's the same energy. It's like, whoa, you mad creative, bro, dude. I never thought about it like that. It's like, yeah, I like to do this. They'll show it to you right there in person. So, yeah, just a different type of energy that you get, you know, that you really can't get over the computer. You know, the internet's great. It also sucks because, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. It doesn't replace those things.
Doesn't replace the human interaction. You know what I'm saying? That's that's what we're born with. You know what I'm saying? We're just born to be around other humans, point blank, period. So, yeah, man, it's a different type of energy. It gets you the different mind state outside of your own self. And it just, I guess, I would even use that feeling as more creativity. So, you know, man, yeah, you did make it to the retreat though, right? Yeah, so like, I know that had to be major. That had to be major for you, just from like being from halfway across the world. Even like looking at the videos is like one thing that stands out to me at least is JJ cooking up on the MPC 3000 was like stolen, showing him like what to do and how to do it. And I'm just looking back at it. I'm like, man, what? That's amazing. And seeing Paulie and Carl, that was crazy. And just them just jamming, just nothing but head nods. And I wish I could, like, you know, just be the fly on the wall. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I was the fly on the wall, like in that scenario, looking back at the videos for sure. But to be there in person, whew, man,
Any guiding words for the people outside as parting message?
Well, man, God first, yourself second, everybody else is third. That doesn't exactly mean that they're last place. That's about it. Other than that, man, I might just be seeing you next Thursday then. Shoot.
Absolutely. See you next Thursday.
All right, man. Hey, man. God bless and
You
stay
blessed.
blessed, bro.
Appreciate you. Peace.
More action.